There are moments when even the walls of a courtroom seem to shudder, not from legal arguments or gavel slams, but from something deeper, the unbearable weight of truth crashing into family. Witnesses speak, evidence is presented, and then, in a moment that captures the emotional rupture at the center of the storm, Diddy's daughters quietly stand and walk out. They don't yell, they don't cry for the cameras, they just leave. But in that act, they say everything. That moment, a walkout by the children of one of hip-hop's most powerful moguls, was more than a dramatic beat in a high-profile trial. It was a gut punch, reminder that behind the headlines, there are daughters, there's family. There are real people trying to make sense of the person they know, and the person the world is being introduced to, under oath. Sean Diddy Combs, a name synonymous with rap, wealth, and cultural influence, now finds himself at the heart of an intensifying legal and public storm. What was once whispered in industry corners is now being laid out in sworn testimony, disturbing allegations of abuse, manipulation, and coercion. Central to the case are the so-called freak-off tapes, graphic, controversial footage said, to support the testimonies of several women who allege Diddy used his power and influence to orchestrate exploitative sexual encounters. It was the airing of details surrounding these tapes, during a particularly tense courtroom session, that reportedly triggered Diddy's daughters to leave in distress. They had come, perhaps, to support their father, to understand, maybe even to show solidarity. But no one, not even those born into fame, can steel themselves fully for hearing that kind of pain, humiliation, and intimate trauma associated with their own blood. What's happening in that courtroom is bigger than one man. It's the disintegration of a carefully managed persona, the fracturing of a narrative decades in the making. Diddy isn't just another rapper, he's a mogul, a brand builder, a survivor of the 1990s East Coast-West Coast wars, who reinvented himself as a global icon. He's also a father. And for years the public image has reflected that proudly. That's what makes this moment so loaded. Because when the image cracks, the fallout is not abstract. It's not just legal or financial. It's emotional, it's familial, and it's deeply human. Here's something you might not know. Studies in media psychology suggest that the children of high-profile celebrities are significantly more likely to experience public identity confusion, especially when the media narratives about their parents turn dark. A 2016 study from UCLA tracked the emotional responses of children whose parents were involved in public scandals. The key finding? They didn't just feel shame, they felt betrayed, like a part of their own identity had been hijacked and rewritten by people who didn't know them at all. And that's what's so striking here. In a world where Diddy carefully cultivated his image as a cool dad, a protector, a provider, his daughters are suddenly being pulled into a narrative they didn't choose. They're sitting in a courtroom where their father is not the master of ceremonies, but a man on the defensive, facing allegations that are hard for anyone to hear, let alone someone who shares his DNA. As the trial presses forward, each day brings new testimony, some from former employees, some from past romantic partners. Many of them paint a similar picture of coercive control, of psychological manipulation, of creating an environment where people felt trapped in Diddy's orbit, afraid to say no, afraid to leave. The term freak-off was first brought into public view during a civil lawsuit filed by Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former partner. According to court documents, these were encounters involving third parties, women allegedly paid or coerced into participating in group sex, often under duress or influence. The implication isn't just sexual misconduct, it's systemic abuse. And for the court to examine this, prosecutors have turned to videotapes, footage that, if authentic, may be critical evidence, but is also deeply traumatic to view or even hear described. So when Diddy's daughters exited the courtroom, they weren't making a statement to the press. They were removing themselves from something emotionally intolerable. And in doing so, they reminded everyone watching. This isn't just about salacious details or juicy headlines. This is about a family imploding under the weight of truth, or at least allegations powerful enough to destabilize their world. It's also a window into how fame warps accountability. For decades, Diddy has operated at a level few in entertainment ever reach. He's weathered lawsuits, business collapses, rivalries, and rumors. And yet, none of it seemed to touch him. Not really. Not until now. Because what the public is seeing, isn't just the possible downfall of a mogul. It's the dismantling of a mythology. The archetype of the untouchable celebrity is being slowly peeled apart. And in its place, we're left with a man who, at least by these testimonies, used power in ways that deeply harmed people. That harm didn't just touch victims. It echoed outward, reaching into the lives of his children, his family, his legacy. This moment also challenges us, the audience, the consumers of celebrity culture. The ones who clicked the headline, watched the memes, laughed at the jokes, shared the reactions. What role do we play in the spectacle? When allegations this serious are turned into content, into fodder for YouTube reactions, podcast debates, Instagram reels, what happens to the human cost? What happens when we forget that behind the courtroom drama are daughters walking out in pain, trying to shield themselves from a reality they can't escape? And here's where things get even more layered. For all the public drama, this case is still unfolding. There's no conviction yet, no final verdict. But the damage is already done, at least emotionally, reputationally, and maybe even relationally. No matter what happens in court, Diddy's relationship with his daughters may never fully recover. Because some things once heard can't be unheard. Some realities once seen can't be unseen. In the end, this isn't just a story about Diddy. It's about the fragility of fame, the brutality of truth, and the ripple effects of unchecked power. It's about how our obsession with celebrity blinds us to the real harm that power can inflict. Not just on strangers, but on the very people closest to those who wield it. So if you felt something when you saw that clip of young women quietly leaving a courtroom filled with reporters and lawyers and harsh testimony, trust that feeling. It means you still have empathy. It means you can still see past the noise, past the fame, into something real, something human. And maybe that's the beginning of a better conversation. Not just about Diddy or this trial, but about how we treat the truth when it finally comes out from behind the music, the money, and the myth. In the midst of Sean Diddy Combs's ongoing trial, a poignant moment unfolded that captured the emotional toll the proceedings are taking on his family. During a particularly graphic testimony detailing alleged abuses and coercive acts, including orchestrated sexual encounters referred to as freak-offs, Diddy's daughters, Chance, Jessie, and Delilah, reportedly left the courtroom in distress. This act wasn't a calculated statement, but rather an instinctive response to the harrowing narratives being recounted. The daughters, who have grown up under the public eye, are now confronting a stark contrast between the father they know and the allegations presented in court. The emotional weight of hearing such testimonies about a parent is immeasurable, especially when the world is watching. Adding to the complexity of their experience, Jessie and Delilah recently celebrated their high school graduation, a milestone that should have been filled with unbridled joy. Instead, it occurred under the shadow of their father's legal battles, juxtaposing personal achievement with public scandal. This dichotomy underscores the profound impact such trials have on the families involved, extending beyond the courtroom and into the personal milestones of their lives. The daughters' departure from the courtroom serves as a somber reminder of the human element often overshadowed in high-profile cases. Behind the legal strategies and media coverage are individuals grappling with complex emotions and personal reckonings. Their actions highlight the collateral emotional damage that can arise when private family matters become public spectacles. As the trial continues, the focus remains on the legal proceedings and the pursuit of justice. However, it's essential to acknowledge and empathize with the silent struggles of those indirectly affected, like Diddy's daughters, who are navigating a tumultuous period with resilience and grace. In a small village, a cat named Whiskers discovered a magic fish in a pond. The fish promised 3 wishes in exchange for its freedom. Whiskers wished for endless fish, a cozy bed, and a bell that rang softly. The fish granted all 3 wishes and swam away, leaving Whiskers content and purring in the sun.